I don't know what my phone just did, but I was minutes into a video and it just stopped. It's very frustrating. As I was saying, I wasn't going to bring you guys a video, but then I trained some horses this morning. We did have a few updates. Well, one for sure in the barn. Two, the second update, I guess, would be when I talked to you this morning with a video. I had told everybody that Curtis couldn't do Wednesday. Ajax Downs, the quarter horse track in Ontario, opens up on Wednesday, and he does all the video work. Jamie used to do the commentary. I don't know if she still does. Jamie, his wife. And then he messaged me back today and said, you know what? I think I can make it all work. All right, cool. Now, Wednesday's pretty cool. Now, I guess as I find this out and bring it to you, I did train Highest Honors and Love Sensation. I thought they tied up a little bit last week. We didn't train them on Saturday, so I trained them both this morning. We trained them in 2:22, I think, which isn't a bad mile. It was easy, but might be a little much to come back and ask them 2 days later to go again. So those horses, for my partners out there, I had no idea. I thought Monday back Thursday was acceptable. I would train them around 25 or even 30 today. 22 was, they did it easy. I'm not really that worried about it, but coming back in 2 days with both those horses might be a bit much to ask. So they may be very healthy scratches because both trained very good today. There's not much I can do about that. Now, I did train Neuromancer in 2:35, but he's not gonna find a hall pass. He trained this morning because he was being extra rude on the track. You know, I've advocated to keep him a stud forever. You and I, you saw the banter between Amy and I on the weekend about Neuromancer. I just did not want to geld him. I think he was a very polite horse in the barn. On the track, he can be a little rude, but just juvenile, just immature. But today he touched a bit of a nerve. He was being rather ignorant today. I turned him and trained him a mile in 2:35. I just happened to have my stopwatch with me when he was being rude, and I turned him. I'm not worried. He's fine to go back in 2 days to train. But man, he got under my skin this morning. He doesn't want to do that too many times, or he will meet the fate of the other horse that is being gelded tomorrow. He won't train either, and that's Go Strong Hanover. Mike said he can only do him. He can only do him tomorrow this week, so tomorrow it had to be. You know, I look at him in the stall, gorgeous horse, but he is being a little ornery and quite a bit rude in the barn, and not so much on the track, but definitely in the barn. More times than not, you're going to see that spill over a little bit. When I look at everything, I guess the deciding factor to me is knowing his brother, right? Locatelli was one of the sourest little buggers, big buggers on earth when he wanted to be. He'd do his work and he'd race well, pin his ears all the time, cranky on the track. So knowing his family, knowing him, I just thought it made the most sense. Go Strong Hanover, you're not going to geld him or fault him on what he acts, what he does, and how he acts on the track just yet. My concern is more, where does the attitude in the burn lead to? And I don't want to see it spill over into the track and, you know, have us going into his first two stake races saying, geez, I wish I had gelded this horse. So, wasn't a very expensive yearling. I know that doesn't mean anything, but if we're going to keep horses studs, it's because we want to dream, right? We want to dream that we'll have a stallion of our own. And when it comes to this guy, I weighed everything, and it was close, but I just think he needed to be gelded. So Go Strong Hanover is going to be gelded tomorrow. Neuromancer would want to smarten up, or he won't be long behind, because if he pulls another couple of antics, it wasn't dangerous or anything today. It was just very rude. You know, they train. He didn't train. He trained Friday, jogged Saturday, had Sunday off. You go to hook him on Monday, and he wants to bounce around. I'll give him a little attitude because he's a good feeling colt on a Monday, but there still has to be manners. He wasn't dirty or anything, just a little stubborn and a little rude this morning. So I'm not going to jump to conclusions. We'll see how he goes this week, but he is most definitely training on Wednesday. He's not getting the week off. I wish I had trained Highest Honors and Love Sensation about 10 seconds slower now. They could also make the track, but if we're training on Wednesday, I think it makes more sense to... not more sense. You just simply can't go in 2:22 and come back in 2 days and train them again where we're training these horses. It's completely unfair to them, and not something I'm going to do. So I'll tell you right now, we are likely training on Wednesday now, and Highest Honors and Love Sensation will not go, simply because there was a change of plans. I was under the assumption when I went on the track with those horses that we were training on Thursday. I was okay to go 25-30, come back on Thursday. I was okay with that because they missed Saturday's training. But 22 back on Wednesday is just too much. So they'll miss. And both of them trained very, very good today. Very easy. I liked what I saw from both of them. So no concerns with those two horses for sure. 100%. I think they both tied up a little bit when we trained them hard. I guess it was a week ago, was it? I guess no. A week ago, Tuesday or Wednesday. So that was this morning. The only crappy little piece of news, and it's not going to change a whole lot other than maybe the outcome of the race. I had turned Jimbery a little bit this morning, and just because Dr. Latessa was in the barn, I thought I heard a little ruffle, a little rattle in the airway, the breathing of Love Sensation when she was behind me. So I wanted to make sure we didn't have anything we had to nip in the bud quickly. He said, there's nothing I can see. The mechanics in her palate and her airway are working perfect. There's no mucus, blood, redness, no swelling down in the bifurcation. There's nothing there. I said, geez, well, you have your scope here. Do you want to scope Jimbery just for my peace of mind, just to make sure she was all right? He scoped her. He said, no blood, no mucus. He said, but I do got some bad news. She's entrapped. I don't really like that. So many of you don't know this, but I think it was a year ago, James had hasty been in the middle of his stake season. He raced great. They scoped him after, and they found he was entrapped. He didn't make any noise. He didn't do anything out of the ordinary. There was just an entrapment there. So the vet said, well, I wouldn't poke the bear, until you have a gap in your schedule where you can correct this. I would just leave him as is unless you feel you shouldn't. He ended up racing fine. They fixed it. Nobody was the wiser. And I think looking at that, I simply looked at Dr. Tess. I said, does she need scratched Wednesday? And he said, no. We can probably fix the entrapment on Saturday after she races. He said there's not a lot of downtime. It's entrapped in such a manner that we can fix it here in the barn, where they wouldn't have to go to Brown's clinic. So all good. That is fine with me. So we will fix Jimbery after the race. How will it affect her race? Well, one might argue that if it needs to be fixed, it falls under the heading of broken to begin with. And if it needs to be fixed, that's because it has to take away somewhat somewhere from her overall game, I would think. Was she entrapped the other day? Great question. I don't know. I told you she was a beaten horse. When I moved her 3 deep, she was going to be third or fourth, which was odd to me. Thought she had a little mucus. Remember, I told you she didn't really look super healthy. Was she entrapped? It's possible. It's very possible. After 7 o'clock at night, we can't get anybody scoped. The commission vet in the paddock does not scope like they do at some tracks. And Dr. Tessa's outfit gives the last shot of Lasix for the last race at around 7 o'clock. And then as soon as they get that last shot, punches the clock and he goes. Why would they stay? So she never raced at a point in time where we could scope her afterwards. So a little frustrating, but nevertheless, Dr. Tessa said she'll be fine. I didn't push him on that or ask him to elaborate. I can't imagine she would be under the heading of 100%, but she can race on Wednesday. So we'll fix that entrapment shortly thereafter, and she will come forward from that, I believe. So we had the two good trainers today. Everybody I went with today, I was happy with. The colt just got under my skin. Picture this: if you had a giant dog and he was cooped up all weekend, and then you brought him to the park before you took him off the leash, how would he be? That's how Neuromancer was today. Just hyper, wound, teetering on the edge of playful and ignorant, and it wasn't wasn't my favorite horse I jogged today, put it that way. It was Neuromancer by any stretch. So Thursday and Friday, the main track is closed anyway. I found it today, so it's good that Curtis agreed to Wednesday. Apparently they're putting a new roof on the paddock. So there'll be no training on Thursday. So Wednesday, the whole reason of bringing you this video, sure, I wanted to update you on Jimbery. I wanted to update you on how the babies were this morning that I went with. I was happy with everybody I went with. The biggest moment for me, Uncle Danny, they said was a little peggy, maybe a little stiff on his knees after he trained the other day. Now again, he trained slow on Saturday, had Sunday off. Whatever was going on, you were going to see today. I just put an open, happy bridle on him like he was an aged horse. He went out and trotted 1, 2, 3, 4. There was zero signs of discomfort in any way, shape, or form from what I saw today. So everybody I went with today, I was thoroughly pleased with. I was really happy with what I saw from Uncle Danny. Obviously, as I said, a little disappointed with the attitude overall of Neuromancer, but I'll give him a pass because it was Monday. And he will train on Wednesday. The only downside, aside from the Jimbery news, which whatever, she might go out and win anyway. The only downside from today was the fact that I trained Highest Honors and Love Sensation. Both were great. Both trained very, very good. Both were sound. Didn't do anything wrong. But a mile and 2:22 on a Monday, and then to ask them to come back on Wednesday is just unnecessary, and we're not going to do that. So they'll train today, and they'll rejoin the group on Saturday. And if in fact we didn't draw their blood, I thought we did. We didn't to see if they did tie up, but after watching them train the other day and then watching them train today, most definitely I believe they tied up. Again, giving them that extra 5 days is certainly only going to help them. So they'll rejoin everybody on Saturday. So again, nothing racing today. We got some horses tomorrow. Great news on the front of Looks Like Money. The Open did fill at the Meadows on Thursday. Captain Incredible's in with the 8-hole. Makes my job easier, really. You know, I know what he's capable of. I know what I want him to be right now. I know what you want him to be right now. But the reality is we have to let him be that horse. And drawing the 8-hole makes things kind of easy for me in the sense that now I get to just look left and race him in the mile, not over race him. I have zero intention of under racing him. But at the same time, what I'd like to do is get away 5th or 6th, be 2nd or 3rd over, and let him pace on the end of it. The first pari-mutuel start of his sophomore campaign, his qualifier was adequate. His schooler was much better. Nothing come back out of the ordinary in his blood. Passed the vet afterwards. We should have a good race sitting in front of us for Captain Incredible also. So that is what's going on between now and Thursday. Most importantly, Wednesday is back on. We will be looking to video our horses, your horses, on Wednesday. And what I didn't elaborate on was the fact that gate schooling starts at 11 a.m. on Wednesday. So quite frankly, what I might do is pick 5 or 6 horses that I think are a little sheepish, that might benefit from 2 trips. And those are the horses you may actually see on the gate. Not going to see them all. We can't start at 11 o'clock and do all the horses. But we will maybe have the 11 o'clock crew will be the crew that is the last to go on the track will be going behind the gate and gate schooling on Wednesday. I'll talk to Jason and Amy and everybody about that. I'm fine with it. It doesn't mean that everybody else is. And we're looking at May the 5th, 6th, 7th. May the 7th. Probably a mile and 2:08 in the race bike if you were going to go out. Or we could go on the job card for that matter. We'll see. It's up in the air. It's undecided. My first piece of business for this week will be figuring out which, if there's a set that's going behind the gate, we'll see. So, take care. I hope you're off to a great week. We are. Everything went well at the barn today. No concerns. No big problems. I was happy with what I saw from the horses I went with. I guess the only hiccup for the week, which really isn't a hiccup at all, is that Highest Honors and Love Sensation will not be training on Wednesday simply because they trained great this morning. So, take care. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your week.